Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. And today it will be a more of a continuation of what I've done 2 weeks ago with respect to the topic of entitlements and milestones. So yeah, we'll get started. And you see the slide which we see every week, and it's like giving and taking in terms of learning and what we are how to share all that stuff within ourselves and try to learn and explore new things in terms of Salesforce. So yeah, just showing a slide of how we are going to continue. And last time we just discussed about what is entitlements, what is milestone, how does it look, or how does it affect in terms of customer support. That's what we've understood on a theoretical level. So today it will be more like how it's going to be implemented, and we'll go through a demo and then try to understand what is the process behind the setup of that particular demo. Okay. Is this for me? Last time I put it at the end because I wanted people to listen, and today I want to make you guys listen forcefully, intentionally, or however it is, but it is useful for everyone. As discussed last week, the week before, service is always a key, no matter how good the product is. If people are not able to provide that support for the product, it is like it doesn't exist, right? So it's always important. And yes, for accompanying your Salesforce knowledge, you also need to have a service knowledge in terms of Service Cloud to understand and give a better product and a better support to everyone. Okay. Okay. A quick recap of what we have done last week. We started with understanding the entitlement models. It was more on what are the type of entitlement models in general that we discussed. And then we came up with how milestones are defined, how SLAs are defined for a particular product or an account, or whatever is the service contracts that are available as part of those models. That was one part. And then the setting up of entitlement process of how it actually looks like and how is it going on in the backend, and how customer support goes ahead and tries to analyze or check with a particular account of whether they have that entitlement in the setup inside or not. And then take the next call of how to raise a case and move it forward in terms of getting a resolution. And the last part was how we use it, and it's more like a continuation of the last step here, which was part of the earlier session. So today we'll just see a demo and try to analyze of what is happening behind the scenes for this entire entitlement setup. Okay, how do I implement? We'll go with a demo. I'll probably stop share of the PPT and go into. Yeah, so I've done all the setup. Okay, so the part of the setup is I've done all the setup. So the examples are I've taken an account, I've added an entitlement to that particular account so that customer support, whenever they see, they go reach out to that account and see whether they are entitled for service or support. So that part is set up. The second part is having the queuing in place, as well as the assignment rules, the escalation rules, everything, where when a particular ticket is not handled or unattended, it goes to the next escalation level. So that is one part of the setup that has been done. And the third part is raising a case and then taking it forward in terms of escalations and all that stuff. So this is a brief demo that I'll just show you so that you can try to correlate of what we've discussed 2 weeks ago and how we're going to see and understand how the setup actually works. So what I do is I'll start a quick demo. So the 3 important things, or rather the 4 things that you need to observe always is accounts, the 4 objects which I'll be working on: accounts, cases, entitlements, and service contracts. Okay. Account is just to define, like, okay, are they liable or entitled for customer support or not? That's why we need to have a check on the accounts. Cases is more like once they see that, they'll go ahead and create a case of a particular issue that is happening to the customer, and we'll try to provide support in terms of resolution. Entitlements, as we discussed, it's more like entitling or defining the process of what type of support that account needs. Okay. And service contracts is more like how many years or the time span that is required to provide that entitlement or that support to that particular account. So generally, in terms of accounts, they see the revenue, or they set, like, if accounts are beyond this revenue or more than this particular figure or number in terms of currency, go ahead and provide this type of support so that the customer support knows, okay, these are the accounts that we need to pay more attention to, and that's how they create their rules or assignments or escalations within the system. Okay. On that note, I'll just quickly create a case. So whenever, if people are not aware of Service Cloud, whenever they raise a case, there are different queues or tier systems in which they try to handle or create a case. Okay. So here I've created two queues. One is product support tier 1 queue and product support tier 2 queue. So tier 1 is like the basic level where initially customer support, when they check the account and see, okay, there's a particular issue that needs to be resolved, they'll go ahead and raise a case and assign it to this particular queue. From here, it gets picked up by the support team for quick resolution. Okay, and tier 2 is more of once it's escalated, there's another team which actually handles escalated cases where the situations can be anything. They weren't the tier 1 folks were not able to resolve it, or they do not have an understanding, or they need additional assistance, or if it's an attended, it generally gets escalated to a higher level of escalation. Okay, so as of now, for today's demo, there'll be two tiers which I'll be talking about, and initially I'll be creating a case in this particular first support tier. Okay, I've created two, so just for an understanding, I'll show you like what is being created. Here I've used a record type to understand, which I'll discuss more in detail in the demo, after the demo, rather than going to each topic. But I've created a record type for two types of support, and it is based on what type of support is needed or what type of case statuses need that support. So I've created two record types. As of now, I'm only taking care of product support. So I'll go ahead and create a case. This is after the discussion that happens where a particular account reaches out for some resolution. So once the customer care or the person or the service agents, they go ahead and create a case in this format. Now here, this is the contact name. The account for which we have set up this particular entitlement is Edge Communications, as an example. The status is new. Case origin, we are providing phone support, so they try to create that using a phone support. And the subject would be based on a product for which they have the issues. So as of now, I'll just create one for, say, inverters. Case reason may be like performance breakdown, whatever is that specific area which is required. So internal or backend, there'll be separate teams even defined for the type of case reasons that are coming, because they might be expertise in certain areas where they can quickly resolve. So even these are broken down into queues or additional support systems. Okay. As of now, I've not set that up. We are just handling two types of queues for easy view and better understanding. So case reason, I'll set it as a problem, and this is always required. And if this particular account has a certain entitlement, it will show up here, and we can go ahead and select it of which entitlement it is supposed to handle. And we give a date of when it has to start, and we go ahead and save the case. So if you see here, a quick check on the milestone component. As soon as we add a particular case, create a case and add an entitlement to it, based on certain business hour and as well as the milestones defined, it goes and shows us what are the type of milestones that are being handled, and it will show us the time span as well. So it is really important to understand this, because I'll be breaking down these sections and how it was handled to come get it to this level on a whole. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions on this.
Milestone. The first response, there is a timer running.
Correct.
Is that an automated?
Yeah, so since it has an entitlement, we add milestones to entitlement. In those milestones, we define. So if you see here, it says first response, that's a milestone. So we define it for say 60 minutes for initial check. If no one checks it, it will go to second level of milestone. If it crosses that, it gets escalated. So that's how we see this.
Automatically, it will go to the second response if time.
Yep. Correct.
Okay.
That we have to define in the entitlement itself.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Clear here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the details will be entered by the case team, or from the user they will enter the details. because maybe some people doesn't know about what is their entitlement regarding the.
No, those are clearly defined. In terms of SLAs, those are clearly defined, like what type of support that particular account is going to be provided, and that's the way they provide or pay the support package. So it's predefined even before they start their what do you say, selling or whatever, try to use a particular system. So it's defined during that stage itself. What type of support are you guys going to provide me if I use your product? So those are the conversations that happen. So it's defined, it's predefined. Here I've taken an example. I've created two milestones, one for an hour, just to as soon as it gets into the system, and the second one is in 8 hours. Okay. Then it gets escalated. That's why you see that whole picture here of what is happening. Okay, I'll just show you how it looks when it's escalated. You see this red mark here?
Yeah.
This is when things get unattended, it goes and gets escalated to the next level. That's where your escalation rules come into picture. The timer is already complete, and it says it's more than a day of overdue, and no one has attempted to get it resolved. So it shows the red check.
Is it showing the red check due to the telling that it's overdue, or it will convert it already to the
If
higher
you go
level?
over it, it will clearly show you that it's been escalated.
It's already escalated.
Yes, yes. This is an older one. I just wanted to give you that check. So this is like a latest one created. If you see here, I created it yesterday night just to show it a day before. It has already got escalated to tier 2. We raise it in tier 1, but if it's beyond that particular time frame, it goes escalated to tier 2. Okay, so going back to the PPT.
So those automations that you're talking about, are those the OTP or automations, or?
OT, out of the box. Yeah.
Yeah. So just now you said that once one milestone is completed, it will be shifted to second milestone, right? We need to press on completed.
Correct.
And if we not click on completed, or if we not mark the completed button before the time, it will be escalated, right?
Correct. As long as it's not marked, it will keep on showing up in that list, that queue list, unless you mark it complete.
But you have also said that if the time is over, if the time is overdue, it will be shifted to second milestone. How can that possible?
Both the milestones are in the same entitlement, right? That's when it's called an escalation. Okay, if I mark this complete, okay, it'll ask me for resolution. This is my second escalation. I mean the second
Right, yes.
that, okay.
Yes.
Mark this complete, it is moved out from that list because I've completed my milestone, and it is assumed that it's resolved.
Yes.
So there no longer there's a timer. Okay, is that your question?
So when Naresh asked you, you have said it will be shifted to second milestone once the time is over, without even pressing that button.
We
That's
won't
what
see
I have
that.
heard.
Yeah, you're still seeing that first response because I have not checked that mark complete. If I would have checked first milestone as mark complete, it would have shown you the second response all the time, second milestone, with an escalated reason.
Hi Prashant, can you please explain it again? Milestone. Now I am confused. If first milestone is completed, that means the case has been resolved, right? Or
No,
why?
it's still not closed, right?
Yeah, then why do we need escalation reason for escalation? You just said that.
Okay, so milestones mostly define in how many hours you have to close it. It's already crossed those 8 hours which you have defined.
Yes.
That's why it needs to be escalated, right? So if it's unattended, people are not marking your milestones. It is always going to an escalated area because there's no proper reasoning for that resolution yet.
Correct.
So that's what.
But if within 12 hours, if I'm completing that milestone, then why is it going on second milestone then? Like normal escalation.
Okay.
Yes, no.
Okay, if we have created, as of now, that's what I said, right? I haven't marked it when it was initially in a milestone. Okay, take something else. Okay, rather I create another. Just give me a second. Okay. You see this first response 59. It is define your initial milestone. If you mark this complete, it won't even go to your second milestone. Initially, it starts with your first milestone. Yeah, so you start this and you give the proper reasoning, say, and you mark the status change. Then it won't get escalated. You can close it right away from the status. This is resolved. You give a reason. You'll go ahead and close it.
Yes, this is what I understood. But then while Naveen was asking the question, you said if it is marked completed, it will go to the second milestone with an escalation reason.
I never mentioned that. When did I say if it's marked
That's
completed?
the reason why I got confused.
No, I've not reasoned that at all. It says if you're not able to close in your defined milestones, it will just get escalated and you'll see it on your screen because you have never marked your initial milestone as completed as well. So first you'll see your first response milestone, then you'll see your second response milestone. Because if you mark this complete, within the time frame, you won't see anything. If it's crossing the time frame, you'll have to close both the milestones.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so that you don't see anything existing here and there's no timer.
Yeah.
Okay. Setting up a case escalation and entitlements. These are the steps in which, or in the sequence in which you have to define your support process, or rather the support process to provide this entitlement or the service contract support to any account. Okay. So the steps are: first, create a support process. Then you create your queues and assignment rules. Then you go with the case escalation rule. This is like your queue escalations, okay? And you create a flow. This is more to define which type of accounts need to be notified to the service agents that they have to do a follow-up. So for that, you need a process builder or any flow to define. I mentioned, right, a particular account with this much revenue. They define those revenues so that beyond that, if they're greater than a particular amount, all those accounts are taken at a priority basis. So that's why they define these process builders. Next part is enabling entitlements and service contracts as I defined. Entitlements is like the basic support model or the basic entitlement process model. And contract is more like giving additional support. It's more like in a car service, they say, we'll provide you maintenance service support for say 3 years for this package, say 1 year this package. So that is more like service contracts. Okay. And then entitlement process is where you add all your milestones, your case conditions, and your business hours. Everything is defined in your entitlement process. And service contracts is more like a continuation to your entitlements. If by default a warranty is given for a particular product account for 1 year, service contract is more defining the additional support rate. Any questions on these steps, guys? So these are the steps which I'll be going through individually. I'll try to wrap it up a bit quick because we've already seen the demo. So I am assuming you'll be able to analyze it, but do stop me if you have any questions on these 8 points, on these 7 points. Okay. Okay. First one, everything is in the service support setup. So whenever you try to create a support process, the first thing you have to keep in mind is on the case status, what type of status when the case is in, you have to provide your support or you need to be notified. So your initial support process should always be a case status step. And record types, which I mentioned in the demo, you can define your own record types, and based on that, what type of statuses records should be notified to which person. So you can bifurcate it to that level using record types for any support. So this is like the first step of the support process. Okay, going to the second step, setting up of queues and assignment rules. Queues, yes, as defined, based on different escalations, based on different teams and their understanding, like it might be like a 1 hour small issue that can be resolved. It initially goes to a tier 1. If those guys are not able to resolve, they escalate it, or if it's not unattended, even then it gets escalated, right? So that's where we do the assignments, and how we do the assignments is more like what type of support that case for which we have to do the assignments. Like it has to go into this queue based on which type of support or which type of records or which type of case statuses does these products go into that particular queue. So those are designed on the basis of a combination of queues again and assignment. So if you see here, the queues created were tier 1 and tier 2, And the assignment rules created is, I'm taking an example of a record type, using it as product support. Initially, you've seen in the step where I create a case, it prompts to create a product support record type, right? And initially, I do an assignment, it has to go to tier 1 queue. Setting up escalation. Escalation is really important because if you're not able to handle it unattended, you do not have a resolution or keep it unnoticed, anything, there should always be an escalation to help prioritize or certain people to understand, okay, this particular case has not been checked by anyone, it needs immediate support, right? So case escalation rules are really important in the support process system.
Quick question, sorry for the interruption. So if I have a case of type, let's example, of type A, record type A, okay, after some time, I want to escalate that. I want to automatically escalate that case to my next level of manager or my next level of organization chat. So what if they doesn't have permissions of that record type? Like myself is there, I have a case, I'm not able to solve it. At one point of time, it will reach to yourself, like Prashant's plate, but you doesn't have permission for that record type access. So
Okay.
what is the use case in that scenario that will escalate to yourself or somebody else? Or you got my question, right?
Yeah. So there's generally a case support system where a particular tool, I mean, we might be diverting from topic, but there's a specific group for which every permission set is already defined. Whenever queues are there, assignments are there, they already define their the list of users and what type of permission they are needed. So if I do not have any permission or I do not have access to these queues, I will never be able to assign it, or you will be never able to assign it outside that system. That's how these work.
Okay, again to the same answer. So suppose I have the permissions for the record types today. Like example, you have the permissions for the record types today, but some reason after 1 week we have revoked your permission sets. Like we have revoked your permissions for that record type. So you're still there in the queue. You're still there in that escalation groups. You're still there in the case assignment rules everywhere in the application. So how do we solve that case?
Anytime in a big support system, there'll always be a queue manager who will be always checking on this particular tickets in a particular queue. There'll be always a manager who will be checking on those. Even if you don't attend it, even if it's an issue where you cannot escalate it or you cannot define it, people will reach out or they'll try to again get it to the common pool, or they'll escalate it by default.
Okay,
That's why the escalation rules. You keep it unattended, you're not able to resolve it. Reason can be anything. You just mark a reason and keep it unattended, but there'll be a queue manager who will check each queue.
So some manual process should be there in between.
Yeah. There'll be always a check. So if you don't want to involve all that's when you create these escalations. Like you're not able to resolve in this particular period, irrespective of any reason, it gets escalated. Then they'll try to dig up and see why it wasn't and the next steps, whatever.
Okay, got it.
Okay, simple process builder flow. Why? Just to mention, like prioritize accounts and what type of support we have to provide. So for that, we create a simple process builder flow where we define the revenue of the account, and if it's greater than that, keep people notified that it's really important, and you got to create a priority for it. Okay, so you can take certain examples like revenue or the number of employees. If it is more, you have to resolve it quickly because of the impact that it might create if that is not resolved, right? So based on certain those conditions, they generally define a flow by which accounts are segregated, either based on their annual revenue, either based on their employee count, and the other reasons, whatever maybe the reasons. But yeah, these are some examples by which you define large accounts, small, medium. Like that's how you define it. Okay, straightforward, simple one. And here we're just sending out an alert. If there is any case assigned based out of these accounts, you just send a notification that guys go ahead and check this out from the queue. Yeah, creating entitlement, straightforward process. Only things that we need to remember here is one, the time span, the start and end date, very important. What type of support you're providing, and platinum is more like 24-hour support, or is it just a 12-hour support? I've given a platinum support. So I've created a business hour concept within Salesforce where it is giving a support for 24 hours. Okay, all 7 days, 24 hours. That's how we are defining our entitlement process. It doesn't show up here, but when we go to the business hour setup for the org, we see that it's set up for 24 hours. Okay, that's why you call it platinum support, and there'll be different levels in which the way we support. Is it just morning hours? Is it just night hours? So based on that, they define their entitlement. And entitlement, you can also add a service contract, which is again a separate object or what you define like an extended support, right? So your entitlement can also get mapped to service contract to show, okay, there is an extended support required for this particular product or an active account. It can be any case, but service contracts generally I have seen they are applied to products where these particular products, when the sales are more, accounts want more service or support to be provided in case of such issues for such products, right? So that's a service contract is more important. And the counts, as soon as you create a case, you map an entitlement to that case. If you define, say, for this entitlement, the packages it got to resolve say 100 cases, right? You create that number, and as soon as you keep attaching your entitlement to the case created, the number keeps going down. That is a out-of-the-box setup within the system. So I've added 3 cases using this entitlement. That's why the number has gone down to 97. So finally, I think when it's at 0, probably Roshan can tell me, but if the cases are done with the entitlement, they again try to renew the package again in terms of entitlement. Yeah.
Service contract.
Service contract. Yeah, same thing. So once those cases are done with respect to that entitlement, they again try to renew their contract based on account.
90 days, like you have a yearly or quarterly.
Got it. Yeah. So this period and the number of cases that entitlement support is provided, that's how it gets operated.
So would that be specific as per the object or?
It can be anything. As of now, it's running based on account. You can even set it up to a product or a work order, whatever may be the case. Yeah,
what is that?
Something called entitlement, service contract, and line order item. So line order is more like the products of it.
What is that asset name?
Where do you see that?
Under service contract.
Asset name.
Yeah, asset name.
Asset is another object, same like this. Naresh. So the support can be provided for an account, product, asset. Asset is more like they define certain products or group certain products and call it as an asset.
Okay.
Yeah, so they group it, and for these products, they call it an asset, and they say, for this asset, I want the support specifically for this set of products. So that's
Got it. Yeah. Got it.
That's what I read, not in detail, but yeah, on a high level, they group products and they call it assets.
Prashant, what will happen if the cases for entitlement are more than 100?
No, it stops here, and I think there's a check. We've resolved based on our agreement, and they try to renew it, and then they create a new entitlement with a new number.
Okay.
It's more like a renew or an update of the existing contract or whatever that may be.
The process builder or flow will be only for the alerts because case assignment has been doing the case assignment rules. So what is the user for process builder actually? Only for the alerts?
Okay, I missed one word there. Process builder is only for what?
Only for the alerts. Only for the queuing alert.
It's more for the alerts. Correct. Yes.
Okay. So if it is not required alert, then we don't require the process builder.
Correct. It's more for the alerts because people don't know what cases come in, right, and for which account. So there are separate groups defined for each account of how the support needs to be provided. So definitely people are alerted based on that. Okay. It's more like an internal check of how they want to see it. Okay, entitlement process. Yeah, 3 important steps here. What you need to understand is 1, entitlement process will ask you business hours as a condition. It will ask you the type of cases or what are the conditions of the cases that you need to handle as part of your entitlement. And the third part is milestone, which is really important for an entitlement. And only when you add a milestone, like if you see here, first response is what I've created for 60 minutes. And the second response is what I've created for 480 minutes. Okay, so based on that, it shows us the graph. Okay, my first response is at this point. Beyond this, it has to go to a second response, and after this, it gets escalated. So entitlement, whenever a person goes and sees the entitlement, this is what he sees. Okay, what is being defined as my milestone for this, and according to this, is what it responds on a case. Any questions here? So the condition here is once equals to true, that's when you close your case. That's when the milestone ends. It's more like that. That's why the question you asked, Akanksha, Naveen, we define that here. Case exits the process only when it's closed. Else it keeps on running until you mark those milestones as complete. Else it will keep on running with the timer.
Is business hours mandatory?
You define in a milestone and you can define it in your org, right? Even if you set it up in your org, I don't think it's mandatory to provide it here. Even I have not provided it here. But you have an option to provide business hours in an entitlement process. But at an org level, it's already defined, so I didn't touch it. If you see here, if you define it within an entitlement, it will show up here.
I mean, right now we are calling, I mean, in the process you are calling flow, right? From process builder. So future this process builder going to replicate it, right? At that time, what will happen? Will they create new process or?
What do you mean by depreciated? Is it out of maintenance or something like that? What do you mean by depreciated? Depreciated?
We're going to remove.
So support for,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
getting away with process builders, but existing process builders will still be supported. You cannot create new automations, but existing ones can be created. So you can go with flows. It's just an email alert, right? So you can always move to flows. Okay, just to summarize, what we have learned and important and keeping in mind of how you start and how you create your support processes. First, create the support process based on the case and its statuses. Then you go ahead and create your queues of what cases you want to see in that queue and all that. And then the assignment parts of what should be the initial assignment or on escalations, where should it head to. These are some important things which will always handle or is your backbone of a support process. Without knowing people to whom it has to reach out to, your support process doesn't work. So this is always important to have assignments and escalation rules defined. And the third important one as part of the concept is having milestones, which will help the service agents who are taking calls to understand, okay, what were defined and how they can take the support conversations forward. And this is like a trailhead link, which shows you the entire setup, which I've done. So probably if you guys have any questions, you can always go to that particular module and like how it works. Yeah, I think that's all I had. Thanks, guys, and yeah, never stop learning. And I hope I gave some information on entitlements. I hope it helps you in your learning curve going forward. Okay, I'm starting, guys. Fastest fingers first. Okay, I think it's a straightforward question which we discussed from last session. Okay.
Is that right question, right answer? Salesforce, sales enablement is a new name for migrating. Everybody got it wrong. That's why I have
Okay, this is a new one that got updated. Yeah, so that's why I wanted this on the Kahoot. So it's being called Salesforce Sales Enablement going forward. We don't know when it will change again, but this is next one.
Let's go back. I got only 700 points out of 10,000 points. Still on.
Okay, any questions on this case? So as discussed, milestones is more like time frame support. It is not giving any type of support to the system. Entitlement or service contract is something which is defined for all these objects, accounts, products, work orders, assets. Okay. Okay, Roshan has gone up, Navin has come down, AK still stays there. Narendra is 4, Chandra is 5, trying to catch up. Yeah, so recent change, like for Trailhead, there were many updates for a marketing cloud related areas. But yeah, Padlet, I think we hear on a regular basis. I wanted this question to be there. It's called marketing cloud account engagement going forward until the next name comes in.
So people who don't know, Salesforce has its
Yeah, so Salesforce always update the names. I'm not sure on what basis, but yeah, it keeps updating. It confuses everyone, people working as well as the customers.
Answer, please.
Fifth option. That's not tough. Okay, I think there's no change in the table. It is more like giving an expanded access rather than restricting data access. You have data which is already shared to some folks, and but you cannot limit again that data coming back to a limited people set or something like that. You cannot do that using sharing rules. If that clears it out. I hope this clear. I've explained this, guys. On that screen, you can tweak your case conditions, you can tweak your business hours, you can add milestones. These are like the core crux of entitlement process. Okay. Naveen has gone up. Okay, the last question is, when I don't remember what I put here. Oh, it's a multi-select double. About me. I think you're double for this. I thought it was straight. Thought of giving this, but already I gave a multi-select. Didn't give a multi-select. Still people are planning. Okay. Okay. You guys, record owners, if you go see in the system as well, you can only provide access to users as well as queues in a system. Assigned to escalator to, I've just given it for a confusion purpose. Okay. There's no, you have it in the backend, but these are two set of users to who can be record owners for a particular case.